Sun and Moon aspecting the outer planets this week is immaculately crazy. There is a trine to Saturn and Neptune, a sextile to Uranus, and an opposition to Pluto. All these aspects are significant because they're all happening when the outer planets are in the very early degrees of fire and air signs. Therefore, this week is really, really busy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of aspects made. We have Mars opposite the North Node on July 20th. We have the Sun is going to trine Neptune and Saturn. It's going to sextile Uranus. It's going to oppose Pluto, and the same goes with the Moon. And we also have the new moon in Leo on July 24th, all under the sky of a Mercury retrograde. So there is a lot going on, and I want to break it down one step at a time for you of all the astrology for the week of July 20th through 26th of this year. So without further ado, let's talk about the astrology of July 20th, which is Sunday of this week, which is the very, very beginning of the week. We have Mars opposite the North Node in Pisces at 19 degrees. The lunar nodes are now at 19 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. Therefore, the moon is also conjunct the South Node. But when it comes to the Sun North Node opposition, um, we have to think of because Mars is in Virgo, very much about structure, much about being very detail oriented, focusing on in the minutia of all that we need to focus on in developing efficient systems and structures. In the North Node in Pisces, which is about leaning into our intuition, letting go of the need to have an egoic plan, A plus B must equal C. That's what we're being pulled away from, and we're being invited to trust in the divine, trust the invisible, have self-love and compassion, everything opposite to what Virgo is all about. That's what we're being called into during this whole transit from January 11th of this year. The nodes entered Pisces and Virgo. They will be there until July 26th of 2026, which is the rebirth of science. And that's going to be a very, very big event happening next year and a very, very big day for humanity once the node crosses into 29 degrees of Aquarius. So talking about right here, right now, what does it mean if the Mars is supposed to oppose the North Node? Well, this is about harmonizing the energy. We need to find harmonious connections. We need to have labradoodle connections. We need to have all the kinds of things and we need to put in our relationships. We need to evaluate, are our relationships harmonious? Are we asserting ourselves in our relationships, or are we being plain out aggressive? And so we need to give Mars something to do. We need to express our physical and very energetic state of being in a healthy way, not a destructive way. We need to control our temper. That's going to be a very, very big issue. We need to control our temper and to not be so reactive. We need to be mindful of not reacting to things too quickly. We need to curb our aggression and express it in healthy ways. Um, we have a choice whether to dwell on the past and the regrets from the past and all the events that occurred back then, maybe even feeling nostalgia for the past, reminiscing it, wallowing in it, or thinking about the present moment, or thinking about the future and what can we do now with this wisdom that we've gained to make a better tomorrow and a better today. That is really our choice, and we don't want to give life support to what we do not want to focus on and put our attention on. Because when we put our focus on something, it just grows and manifests. That's how the 3D law of attraction reality works. So we have to break away from that and choose to focus on the positive, focus on the present, focus on what we can do right here, right now to make a difference in our lives. So we need to, this is a wonderful time to be productive. We can really use that Mars and Virgo to really, really get stuff done, get stuff crossed off our list. And we need to put our will in the picture to conquer challenges. We have very, very strong instinct when it comes to the challenges and the obstacles that we're facing, and we can face them and rise above them. We need to be flexible. The North Node in Pisces talks about being flexible, talks about going with the flow of the universe, surrendering our plans, trusting in the divine, that the divine is so wise and loving and has the perfect plan out for us, for ourselves and a soul level, for our highest good and the highest good of all. That's what we have to remember during this 18-month transit. So, we need to let go of our plans. The saying goes, we create plans and God laughs. Well, that South Node in Virgo needs the certainty and needs the security of the plan that we need to make. But the North Node in Pisces is about trusting what goes beyond logic, leaving the comforts of logic and rationality and trusting in the unseen, the unknown, our intuition. That's what we're being called into. So then, on July 21st, Venus will square the North Node, or the North Node is also called Rahu, especially in more Vedic astrology practices. So Venus is now in Gemini at 19 degrees, squaring the North Node and South Node at 19 degrees of Pisces and Virgo. So this is a T-square going on. So we may find that our emotions are hard to navigate. We may find that we have very, very difficulty moving through our emotions, feeling them because of this stretchalistic energy. We need to focus on leaving relationships that are not good for our personal growth. Whatever those relationships that hold us back are, we need to release them at this time. Now, on the positive note, we have a great appreciation for the arts and anything artistic. So we can really put our focus and our attention into that. We can focus on our own growth as well as maintaining harmonious relationships. Balancing these two things out are really, really important. Can we be self-sufficient? Can we take care of our own needs and wants? Can we just stop relying and being dependent upon everybody else to supply us with our needs and wants? Can we actually pull up our bootstraps, step up to the plate, and fulfill our own needs and wants? Because ultimately, we know in our souls as sovereign beings what is best for us on a very, very deep heart and soul level. And so when we put ourselves first, when we take care of ourselves, when we do the self-care things or whatever, we take care of our needs, we fill those needs, we fill our cup, then we feel very, very uplifted and nourished on a spiritual level. So this is about not stubbornly achieving your ambitions alone. You don't have to go it alone at this time. You can rely on the help of others. You have a leg up. We have the help of others. Um, reach out for others for help. Reach out to others to support you. And we also need to evaluate, are our relationships still bringing us excitement and fulfillment? Because if they're not satisfying, if they're not nourishing, if they don't feel right, then that's when we have to evaluate them, reevaluate them, Mercury goes retrograde, and release them from our life and put our focus and attention on the relationships that do serve us emotionally, physically, spiritually. And so we need to express what we feel and need from others. That's very, very important. We need to be assertive when it comes to that. July 22nd, the very, very next day, we have, this is back to back to back astrology. Most of the days this week, except for Saturday, will be very, very busy. So there's astrological events occurring 6 days out of this week that are significant that I'm going to talk about in this video. So now let's talk about July 22nd. The aspect going on today is that the Sun will sextile Uranus at 0 degrees of Leo. So as soon as the Sun moves into Leo, it will form an opposition, or excuse me, a sextile to Uranus and Gemini. Leo and Gemini are two signs apart. They sextile each other. Sextiles are always windows of opportunity that we wisely take action on. So this sextile is all about, it could bring about shocks and surprises because it is Uranus. Uranus is involved. So we could find that we're being entered into the unlucky situations where we're finding that we have surprises at our doorstep. We open our door and there's a surprise guest. We open up our heart and there's something brand new. And there's just these shocks and surprises. So wherever this sextile, whatever house area the sextile falls into a chart, if you have planets, points, or angles at 0 degrees to 2 degrees of Leo or Gemini, or find where 0 to 3 degrees or 0 to 3 degrees of Gemini and Leo fall in your birth chart, this can really be highly active for you. So, this is really all about bringing these things that we do not expect to be there. This is good for trying something new, trying something out, experimenting with something that we never have done before. Trying to prepare a new dish that we have never prepared. Trying to garden our garden in a different way than we usually do. These little things to break us out of our routine. Can we do things a little bit differently? Can we try new ways of going about our lives? Um, so we need to have self-awareness. Which is increased. We're hyper aware of ourselves, and flashes of insight could come to us at this time. So, are we open to those flashes of insight? This is a good opportunity for us to express the more unique side of who we are. What are the unique quirks that you have that you can turn into perks that you can express unapologetically and fully authentically as the sovereign being that you are? Yeah, this is also great energy for meeting people from ultra different cultural backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds than your own. So these ultra different people can come into our lives very, very strongly and can be very statistical in all kinds of ways of being. And so we were really thinking about opening up to many, as many people as we can and forming those connections. Um, we're feeling more curious. We're also feeling more inventive, like we want to innovate, we want to experiment, we want to try new things. Scientific technology might capture our interest at this time. So we might be interested in science technology, electronic technology, technical things because Uranus rules over technology. Aquarius is the sign which is ruled by Uranus, corresponding to technology. And this is really about doing things where you can increase your efficiency while doing them. So the more that you're going about it, you're finding ways of becoming more faster and getting the job done with greater quality in a very fast smooth way, but that's where you're building that into your life at this time. We also need to feel free to change our life if the status quo of our life does not feel right. So if we're going about a relationship, if we're going about a job or a career that just deep down it doesn't resonate with us, and we know that all of a sudden you wake up in the morning and you feel like deep down this job does not resonate with me. This relationship doesn't serve me. Especially if you're in your 40s and you have the typical Uranus opposition to your natal Uranus, that's known as the midlife crisis, where your life is being turned on a dime. You feel the urge to be radical, to shift things, do something very, very different than what you usually do. And then that will come into reflection once you get to age 84 and you have your Uranus return, your one and only Uranus return if you live up until 84 years old. So, this could be allowing yourself to change your life if it just doesn't resonate with you. This is about breaking away from any relationships or situations that no longer serve you. This is good to take up any humanitarian causes. That's wonderful at this time. Becoming involved in groups or organizations that are for a cause are very, very good thing to put your attention on at this time. So it's the charitable energy. So then, July 23rd is where we have Venus square Mars. Venus is in Gemini, Mars is in Virgo. Um, at around, I want to say 20 degrees of Gemini and Virgo at this point. So Venus is still traveling through Gemini. Venus is still traveling through Virgo. Mars will not move into Libra until the 6th of August. So, talking about this Venus square Mars, this can bring up issues in relationship, particularly on the sexual level. We have these primal desires where we want to be assertive, we want to be aggressive, we want to have very kinky, sexually charged relationships. We also need to not lower our standards in relationships. That's very important. There's a primal desire for sexual satisfaction. This may bring up tension in relationships. There may be tension between the two people involved. We need to agree to disagree. We need to deal and understand each other's differences and honor them and hold space for them honestly. We need to consider others' points of views, being open to others' points of views at this time. Miscommunications could lead to jealousy or stress in relationships. Mercury is retrograde, so the miscommunications are just amplified for us. We may feel more temperamental or aggressive. We may be wanting to be assertive instead, so being temperamental. This kind of thing is very, very huge for us. And we need to not agree. So we need to find ways of being our sovereign selves and not just going along to get along because we want to fulfill a need, because we want to fulfill a want. We have to show self-respect. It's very, very important. We have to be true to ourselves. So we also need to channel this feisty energy into physical activity or any kind, be it sports or anything artistic, such as dance or pottery. Now, the Sun will form a trine with Saturn in the sign of Aries at around, I'm going to say 1 to 2 degrees. So, very early, at the very beginning of Aries. The Sun is at the very beginning of Leo. So, this brings about discipline, order, structure, and routine with a rock of reliability. We're feeling more like others can count on us. We're feeling more like we want others to depend upon us. This is good energy to evaluate your long-term goals and put your focus on commitments initiated bef before Saturn goes retrograde, because Saturn retrograde is not the time to make big, serious long-term commitments. We want to go back to the big-term commitments that we made before Saturn goes retrograde, go over that, finish those up, keep chipping away at those things in our lives. This gives a sense of responsibility here. This is good for turning our dreams and turning our visions into physical, um, physical forms, physical actual manifestations. This is about creating long-term structures in our life, putting those long-term structures down. We need to have compassion for ourselves and step away from judgment. We need to accept our human imperfections. We need to have compassion and open-heartedness toward ourselves and understanding for ourselves. That's always very important, especially now. This is about focusing on our duties while also focusing on self-care, nourishing ourselves, making time for self-care, taking time out throughout our days to take care of ourselves while pursuing our duties. This can bring about an increased understanding and respect in relationships as well as loyalty. Others are feeling more loyal to us and we're feeling more loyal towards them. This could be an increase in feeling more confident, having a heightened sense of self-respect. And others may come to you for wisdom, for advice, for guidance. So be open to that and be willing to share wisdom and also be open to receiving others' wisdom as well. So then we move on to July 24th. This is a really, really big day because we have the new moon in Leo and we have the sun trine Neptune. So let's talk about the sun trine Neptune at the very, very beginning of Aries. We have all the outer planets being aspected by the luminaries at this time. So the sun is trine Neptune. So this is good for being charitable. This is good for giving humbly and selflessly with such compassion, with such a selfless desire of expecting nothing in return. Manifest your dreams and hopes for the future. Put that into physical reality. We're driven by our ideals that are not egoic. The sort of mirror is vanishing, it's breaking. Our ego is dissolving. We're more on a spiritual soul lens when it comes to things like this. We need to pursue our artistic and creative talents. This is good energy for socializing as we will be more empathetic towards others, and also spiritual at this time. Um, we need to take time out of our schedule to make time for others' emotions and nurture them. This is, really very important that we hold space for others' emotions. We may have great confidence in ourselves and our intuition. We may be perceived to the clues. We may be very perceptive to the clues around us and to the cues around us. We may be feeling more creative in ways that we want to use our creativity to serve others and share our blessings with others. Now, the other aspect that's going on, besides the new moon, will be Mercury square Lilith. So Mercury is in Leo, moving retrograde now at around 14 degrees. Lilith is in Scorpio now. So Leo and Scorpio are fixed signs, therefore they square each other. They overlap the different polarities. Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus. So, um, talking about Mercury square Lilith. We may be wanting to communicate our compulsive ideas. So maybe our communication may be very compulsive. Letting our voice be heard is very important. Overcoming hesitations to self-expression is a really, really big deal at this time. We need to grow and be firm in our attitude toward life. Um, we may have a desire for freedom and independence at this time. That may be very, very huge for us. We need to grow and develop a firm attitude, standing firm within ourselves. We need to be honest in our opinions and advice. We need to show integrity. Those who support us, you'll be willing to listen to the advice of those that support you and for those who are supported by us. This can bring about very exciting opportunities in communication. We need to go against the fear of others' judgment and criticism, and don't suppress your beliefs. Now, the new moon in Leo, which will occur at 2 degrees of Leo. So if you have, where the sun is conjunct the moon, if you have any planets, points, or angles between 0 to 2 degrees of Leo or the other fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, you'll really, really feel this, or wherever you have 2 degrees of Leo in your natal astrology chart. Then you want to look to the house area or the house areas that straddle this 2 degrees of Leo mark, because that will tell you on which area of life you will be impacted and which area of life you'll be setting new intentions on. So the themes of Leo involve romance, children, fun, and creativity because it's corresponding to the fifth house, are just some of the themes of this new moon. We need to, follow the advice of the song, "This little light of mine, let it shine." That's exactly what we need to do. Shine our light bravely and boldly out into the world unapologetically. Leo is about embracing your inner child. It's about being our true self and being magnanimous and being unapologetically who we are. So we need to bring back ease into our lives. Leo is about living from the heart and being very courageous. Leo is the water fire sign because Leo is very, very emotional because it rules the heart. It's fire, but with that water added, it takes fire and it puts a lot of emotions into it. And so, um, we have this fire sign very, very bold and hot and fixed. So, Leo energy ultimately is about what is simple, what is real, what is essential. How can we stop being overly controlling and abusive? How can we stop being micromanaging? Now, this new moon is forming four aspects to the outer planets: Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. So let's first talk about this trine to Saturn. When the moon trines Saturn, it brings some stability, it brings some structures to the table. We're feeling more efficient. We're feeling like we want to get things done off our to-do list. We feel more grounded at this time. We feel more like we put our attention on long-term goals. Um, it's a good time to seek advice from an elder or wise woman. We need to create a foundation for our family and home life, very, very important. Our intuition can give us a lot of wisdom and guidance. So are we open to our intuition? This is a good time to reflect on family traditions, and it's good for conversations on serious topics to really carry out those important conversations, especially when it comes to finances. Now, this new moon is also trine Neptune in Aries at 2 degrees. So, this is about living from a more spirit and soul-centered type of place. Relationships started now will have a soulmate feel to them. It's good to record your dreams and visions and ideas on your camera or on through an audio app because that can really, when you name them, you claim them. Your intuition can be very powerful and very sharp now, more than usual. This is yet another invitation to selflessly give to charity and be of service. You may be seen as very open-hearted. You may give an empathetic connection to what others are thinking and feeling, holding space for that. It's good to produce works of art, to produce all these kinds of things like that. Expressing love and affection for others is really, really huge. Because Leo rules the heart. So the new moon is sextile Uranus also. So this is where we need to try something new in our daily routines or personal life. Where can we shake this up? Where can we spice it up? Where can we do things a little bit differently? Our strong intuition is very, very heightened. Women can give us inspiration and present us new opportunities. Are we open to that? We need to express our unique self unapologetically. We need to work in groups to create positive social change. We may feel or that our emotions are very intense that cause us to act in shocking types of ways. We might be jumping into new opportunities without thinking things through carefully enough. So we need to really, really evaluate that. Um, we may be connecting empathetically and intuitively with others while not being defined by them, being sovereign within themselves. It's very important. And then this new moon is also forming an opposition to Pluto, moving retrograde at 2 degrees of Aquarius at this point. So the new moon opposing Pluto can bring up relationship and emotional drama. We can experience mood swings or have trouble containing or controlling our emotions, or we might be becoming very reactive. We may be having a hopeless fear or a hopelessness when it comes to our fears, and you're very obsessed about a lot of things mentally, emotionally. We need to become less reactive, not so reactive on our strong emotions. We need to put our power over others in healthy ways, not abusive ways, not ways that are not for ours and others' highest good. At the low level, we may be more gullible to others' schemes, to others' deceptions, to others' lies. So we need to watch toward getting involved in addictive behavior as well at this time. Um, we may become obsessed with physical and emotional release mediums. So sexual mediums, release mediums, whatever that may make sense for you as being. Spiritual practices are very important at this time, whatever it is. Is it pulling divination cards? Is it meditating? Is it praying? Is it walking in nature? Whatever that spiritual practice is, this is a good time to put your attention and focus on that. So this is good for discerning, being discerning about others' deals. Family members may act out if we are not expressing our intense emotions, if we're not letting out all of those emotions that are deeply inside of us. We may find that the people in life are becoming very reactive, very emotionally, because they are mirroring back to us, um, those deep feelings that are cooking inside of us, that we're bottling up. So this could bring about emotional pressure and internal conflict. This could bring about power struggles. We can look at how we assert ourselves and draw our boundaries. That's very, very important. And then the last little aspect going on this week is on July 25th, and that is the Sun will form an opposition to Pluto at 2 degrees. So we need to be aware of manipulations with this aspect. We need to be very, very conscious and aware of if we're manipulating others, if others are manipulating us. We need to not engage in destructive actions toward ourselves and others. We need to not be so controlling over our environment to let go of control. Um, any dark side of relationship, any shadow material of relationship could get revealed and brought up to the surface for healing at this point. Um, and so we may exert power over others through manipulation. So we need to evaluate if we're the one manipulating others or if they're the one manipulating us. We also need to not overestimate our strengths. Very, very important. So that is the astrology for the week of July 20th. I hope that you found some value in this video. I hope that you benefited from this video. And if you did, please share this video. And please like the video and subscribe so that you do not miss any future uploads from me. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're living on. And I will see you in the next video, which will be about the midheaven in the zodiac sign of Pisces in the birth chart. So look for that video to come in a couple days from now, tomorrow or the next day probably, or the next day after that. That'll be the next YouTube video that I will be filming. So keep an eye out for that. Have a great day. Bye for now.